I'd like to give a big shout out to my friend Matt, because he showed me a movie that I didn't realize I needed in my life. And that movie is The VelociPastor, a movie about a priest who can turn into a dinosaur. Now, based off that title, you're probably thinking that this is the works of The Asylum, but no. This movie makes The Asylum look like A24. While it does have all the characteristics of an Asylum production with the subpar acting, campy title, and poster that looks better than the movie, it takes the concept of an Asylum production and puts it in the hands of a man with a small budget and a vision. We'll call it Asylum Light. It's a bad movie, but it's also a masterpiece. It's one of those movies where the director and everyone involved were well aware that this is a movie that's not meant to be taken seriously. The kind of movie that was made just for the sake of creating something. And the kind of movie that I believe belongs among the ranks of such films as The Room, Troll 2, and many other so bad they're good flicks. The film opens with our main character, Father Doug Jones, giving a sermon. Based on the tone of the opening scene and the look on his face, you can tell that everything in Doug's life is perfect. He's got a good church career, he's close with his parents, but then this happens. I didn't add that text, by the way. This is actually how the movie is.
Oh, the humanity.
After witnessing this tragic and traumatizing event, Doug is consoled by his mentor, Father Stewart, who gives my favorite line of dialogue in the entire film.
So your parents died, Doug. It's what parents do. They die on you.
Father Stewart suggests Doug cope with the loss of his parents by traveling, so he decides to go to China, and he gets there by seemingly driving the entire way, because apparently in this movie, the Pacific Ocean is just a big blue parking lot. While out hiking through the Chinese wilderness, which looks strikingly similar to the woods of upstate New York, there's a woman being chased down by a ninja, and after being shot with an arrow, conveniently falls by Doug's side. She hands Doug an artifact, and in her last words, she urges him to destroy it, but due to a language barrier, he takes it. Face to face with the ninja, Doug cuts himself with the artifact and wakes up in the church, with like no explanation of how he got back. I mean, it is revealed that he was just reliving the experience in a dream, but what happened after he cut his hand and fell over? Did the ninja just peace out or something? My only guess is that the director didn't know how to write an ending to this sequence, so he just cut corners by making it a dream.
What did that Chinese say? Dragon warrior?
Something like that.
How Eastern.
You know, Father Stewart's kind of an asshole. Doug's clearly being troubled by what happened, and he just condescends the Chinese and basically tells Doug to get over it.
I'm sure you'll forget all about China soon.
Be a man.
We're then introduced to Carol, a prostitute turning tricks to pay for college, complete with a cliche abusive pimp. Later that night, Doug transforms into a dinosaur for the first time and saves Carol from a mugger. He wakes up the next morning in Carol's bedroom with no memory of the incident. She tries telling him what happened, but he refuses to believe her, so she takes him to see the body.
I don't think this has to be a bad thing.
Carol tries to convince Doug that with his powers, he could help people and do actual good, instead of the good priests think they do. Yeah, sick burn on organized religion there, Brendan Steer. I tip my fedora to you. Doug becomes totally dismissive of the idea and runs to do confessions.
Doug!
I have to do confessions.
Right now?
Yes, right now!
When Doug goes back to the church, Carol's pimp, Frankie Mermaid, is coincidentally in the booth confessing his sins. I'm sure he wasn't there because he's genuinely a religious person repenting, but whatever, movie's got a movie. Frankie tells Doug that he blew up a car in front of the church, killing 2 old people a few months prior. And putting the pieces together, Doug transforms out of rage and demands answers.
Doesn't mean not to buy it? They were my parents! I'm sorry? Tell me why. Tell me who ordered their death.
Frankie says he was given orders to do so, but he doesn't know who they were from. And in a change of heart that took all of 3 minutes, Doug agrees to use his powers to kill, on the condition that they only kill bad people.
We'll only hurt bad people.
Only the worst.
Okay, now you guys kiss!
Now can you guess what happens next? If you guessed montage, you'd be right.
We're gonna need a montage.
Except the montage isn't a preferred dinosaur rampage, but instead one filled with shots of Doug working out and spending time with Carol. This is one of those movies that waits till the end to do the big reveal and spends most of its runtime giving us glimpses at the main attraction. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's plenty of movies that have done this and pulled it off, but if this is the way the director is going, it has to be worth the wait, and there needs to be worthwhile filler to keep the viewer entertained. Lucky for us, there's plenty of it here. Just wait, you'll see what I mean. Moving along, we're brought back to China, where we're introduced to Master Wei Cheng, the leader of an evil drug cartel. Rumors of Doug's heroic actions have made their way through the criminal underworld, affecting the drug trade and some unspecified flow of money. Back at the clergy, Doug tells Father Stewart of his abilities, and after he's met with doubt, is reluctantly taken to Altair, exorcist extraordinaire.
I haven't had to come to Altair in years. Not since.
The war. Oh boy, it's time for a flashback sequence to the Vietnam War. I'm not gonna go into detail about this scene because it literally adds nothing to the story. And I don't mean that in a it contributes very little if anything sort of way. I mean absolutely nothing. We don't get any answers as to how Altair fits into this flashback or how him and Father Stewart met. He doesn't even make an appearance. No, the only reason why this flashback happens is to deliver us one of the greatest moments in cinema history.
Adeline!
Remember what I said about worthwhile filler? I remember the first time I watched this movie, I had to pause it at this scene because I was laughing for so long. I didn't even question why his wife just showed up out of nowhere, nor did I care that this whole sequence didn't make any sense or contribute anything to the overall plot, because holy shit, that was funny. There's actually a couple of things in this movie that don't contribute at all. Like during the ritual, Doug transforms, attacks Father Stewart, and when he leaves, he's about to be ambushed by ninjas and one of them just starts narrating at random.
요진이 항상 나한테 말해줬지. 이렇게 될 것이라고. 그때는 내가 그녀를 결혼할 줄 알았지.
What is this? Why is it here, and what purpose does it serve? Look, Mr. Steer, I get it. You wanted to make a low-budget horror comedy, but please learn what can be left on the cutting room floor. We haven't even seen Doug in his full dinosaur form, so unless you got another one of these up your sleeve, speed it up a little. Speaking of Father Stewart, Wei Cheng inexplicably captures him and brings him back to China. It turns out this operation is a Christian ninja academy. Wei Cheng and his followers plan to get everyone hooked on a highly addictive form of cocaine and then abruptly cut off the supply. In turn, they'll have nowhere to go except for their church, thus creating an army of faith to achieve world domination.
That's madness. That's inhuman.
And then Father Stewart is killed in the name of exposition. Doug and Carol show up to do battle with the ninjas, but not before a twist of M. Night Shyamalan proportions is revealed.
Remember me now? Brother! What a twist!
So it turns out Doug had a brother who was always pushed off to the side and ignored by his parents. They never explicitly say, but it's implied that he's the one that ordered their assassination. Does it matter? Well, no, not really. Doug kills him like a minute later. Subsequently, Carol is sliced right down the chest, and finally, after an entire hour of runtime, we get to see Doug's dinosaur form on full display. That all sinking in for you? I mean, I don't know about you, but I think this one scene has more passion in it than all 3 Jurassic World movies. So my question is, why didn't Doug just transform into a dinosaur right in the beginning of the fight? Would have saved a lot of trouble if he just did that. Whatever, let's just wrap this up. Wei Cheng shoots Doug with an anti-venom spear, turning him back into a human. He explains that thousands of years ago, the power of the Dragonstone, which I assume was the thing at the beginning of the movie, gave power to thousands of lizard warriors, and that Doug is the last one. Lucky for Doug, his hands are conveniently immune to the anti-venom, and he kills Wei Cheng.
Fatality.
And that's where the story ends. Doug has avenged his parents and Father Stewart, and he readies for a journey to take down religious criminal organizations across the globe. Oh yeah, and Carol's still alive. Just a flesh wound. Nothing a quick trip to the doctor's office can't fix.
I'm fine.
Objectively speaking, The VelociPastor is not a good movie. But that's okay, because like I said in the beginning of the video, this movie was made just for the sake of making a movie. Brendan Steer got the idea after autocorrect turned Velociraptor into VelociPastor. I'm not joking, by the way, that's actually what happened. So it doesn't really matter if the movie is good or not. This guy had an idea and he executed on it. That's more than can be said for a lot of creative people. If you unironically like this movie, that's totally fine. I did too, to a certain extent. And part of me wants more. As fate would have it, we're gonna get more, because while making this video, I learned that a sequel is being made after a very successful Kickstarter campaign. And I really hope it doesn't end at 2. I want there to be an entire saga. I want this to be the next Sharknado franchise, getting progressively more campy and absurd with each installment. But it's a pretty high bar Brandon Steer has set for himself. I'm not sure how he's gonna top this.